Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Dinger Token's Cativersity platform. It's BMG here, and I'm excited to talk to you all a little bit today. Today we've got a short episode again. I'm going to be going over basically MEV sandwich bots, what puts you in a scenario that could cause yourself to get sandwiched, how they're doing it, what they're doing, etc. As well as I'm going to be going over a little bit about operational security and if you are creating a new wallet, a lot of times people will say, don't import your, hot wallet seed into a ledger or something that you're going to be utilizing as a long-term cold storage wallet. I'm going to go over why that is and how it's protecting yourself, and then talk for just a short bit about the concept of attack vectors and making sure that you're going to be shrinking those attack vectors over time. Just a second, though. I'm going to go ahead and post about this in the Telegram that we're live. So yeah, talking about attack vectors and how you can reduce them, why you need to reduce them, what they are, just a variety of different things in that space. But if you just give me one more second, I'm just going to a variety of different things in that link, and then in that go space. Ahead and dive. But if you just give me one more second, but like I said, thanks again for joining us today on Dinger Token's Cativersity platform. Starting off with MEV bot. So what is an MEV bot? And a lot of times people call this miner extractable value. And what they're really referring to is people who are have access to seeing transactions before they are confirmed on the blockchain, and then having time to react to the parameters or the variables set within that transaction so that they can try to extract value from the transaction and from the token that the transaction was occurring on. So first of all, what's the mempool, right? The mempool is this place where transactions go before they're accepted onto the blockchain by miners, but after they've been submitted by a user. So when you're on Uniswap or you're on RBX or you're out there using one of your normal crypto swap exchanges, you're going to make your swap, and then there's going to be a moment of wait. There's the pending period before anything happens. And that pending period, as you all know, is probably really highly correlated to how high of a GUI price that you're willing to pay for gas to get that transaction confirmed on chain. So when you have a really low GUI amount paid or low relative to what the market is paying to get transactions confirmed, it's going to take your transaction longer to get added to a block, and it's going to spend more time in this mempool than if you had a higher amount of gas associated with that transaction. And so basically what miners, what people with nodes, what people who have access to this mempool data will do is they'll watch and they'll wait. And they'll look at things like the slippage of transactions that are there. And granted, a lot of times they do this automated. They set a bot that's going to be looking for the perfect ideal scenario so that they can execute an MEV trade. But what one of those ideal scenarios would look like and how you can avoid it is basically this. There's a transaction in the mempool with 20 GUI. Not necessarily high gas, but relatively high compared to what people have been paying lately, with 0.2 ETH, so it's going to move the price a little bit depending on the liquidity, etc., at 20% slippage. So say this is a zero tax token, right? This is a lot of slippage even out the gate, but not an insane amount. Basically, though, what you're saying is the token can increase 20% in my order before I say, hey, cancel the order, I don't really want to pay that much for it. So this transaction might go through, the miners might add it to the blockchain pretty immediately. And then maybe a miner or somebody with a node, somebody looking in notices this transaction. Wow, so there's 5 ETH, so they're really about to push the price hard. and 150% slippage. So this transaction that's about to go through, this person's like, whatever, I'm willing to pay anything, even up to double for some of my coins than what I paid at first. And they're only putting it in at 10 Gwei, even less than what this other transaction that just went through was put in at. So somebody with a node or somebody who's going to be running MEV in the same block, basically they will buy. So if you look down here on this example from a defined transaction, they'll buy, oops, didn't mean to do that, the token, allow the larger transaction with the high slippage to go through. So this 1.3 ETH buy goes through at a higher price because the MEV bot purchased before. And then within the same block, they sell immediately after and extract value. So this one only extracted about $10. It's not necessarily that every time that miners do this MEV, they're making a ton of money. They might not have even made this much. Actually, they probably lost more than $10 in gas. Setting up your own MEV bot isn't guaranteed to be profitable. But there are some times that you can see these where the entire transaction can get drained. There's things of that nature that happen in this space, and it's really, really scary to put transactions in with insanely high slippage, insanely low gas. So obviously, not giving any recommendations, giving any financial advice, anything like that. But if you're going to be making transactions, what I personally like to do and what I've found is really a good way to avoid getting hit by MEV sandwich bots is to always put your gas really high. I like to overprice my gas. So remember in a past episode, we talked about how gas is priced, how Gwei is priced, right? And how basically it is, when you put a transaction through, you're sending it out and saying, hey, miners, add me to the blockchain. And that takes an amount of Gwei away from your total allocated Gwei for your transaction to go through. And if your transaction sits in the mempool for a really long time, you're ending up spending, in my experience, more total gas than had you set your Gwei price really high and spend a small amount of time in the mempool using a small amount of units of Gwei trying to get your transaction confirmed. And then you're also, forcing a sniper or an MEV bot or somebody like that to outbid you to get their transaction confirmed in front of you. The other big way, though, as you can see here, to avoid getting trapped by MEV bots is slippage. Don't put your slippage above 100%. Don't necessarily put it above 50%. Don't even necessarily put it above 20% sometimes. I personally like to do 25% slippage. I'm not normally doing huge transactions, though, and I'm also paying a really, really high Gwei price. So that's why I personally feel okay with doing really, really, not that high, but a little bit higher slippage. Because I also want my transaction to go through. And I don't mind if somebody buys right in front of me and I have to buy at 20% higher per se. So that's just a quick, easy, simple overview of MEV sandwich bots, how they work, how people use them, different things of that nature. Next, I'm going to go really shortly over the operational security kind of attack vectors. This was inspired because of we had an admin chat the other day, and one of our members was looking at creating a cold storage wallet, right? Something that I'm sure a lot of people in this space do quite often. And for his cold storage wallet, he was saying, hey, how should I get my old MetaMask wallet into my cold storage? Should I just import seed? What do you do? And yeah, that's something that you can do, but it's not entirely the most operationally secure thing to do, OPSEC thing to do. And one of the reasons for that is because the way that data is stored in devices, right? So when you generate your seed on your first device, you're creating a series of ones and zeros somewhere in the computer's memory, right? The user creates those ones and zeros and they're there. Now, say you want to make your ledger live, right? Or your ledger, or your nano, or whatever, your Trezor, whatever cold storage you're going to utilize. And you want to import your seed, and then you're going to, completely delete the entirety, uninstall MetaMask, get rid of it, it's gone, right? It doesn't exist anymore. What people don't understand is MetaMask and your wallet and your seed and all of that lives in these ones and zeros, in these bits and bytes. When you delete and uninstall MetaMask, what you're really doing is deleting the arrow that tells the user where you can find those bits and bytes until it's overwritten again, or if that area is ever overwritten again. So it's really, maybe it's being a little bit paranoid, a little bit, schizophrenic, if you will, but you're not wanting to leave these bits and bytes on your device that you're going to be utilizing. You're not going to want these bits and bytes to be associatable, I guess, with your new cold storage wallet, right? Because unless you completely destroy this computer, destroy the place where those bits and bytes were living, that data still exists and it could in theory be reconstructed, and then maybe your cold storage wallet has all of your crypto in it. So it really, really makes sense to, if you're looking at a long-term cold storage wallet and you're trying really hard to have good operational security, that you really want to generate an entirely new wallet and start from scratch so that you're not taking that risk with having bits and bytes associated with that new Ledger, Trezor, whatever wallet, putting you at risk. And so that brings me into attack vectors, right? And what is an attack vector? So an attack vector in ransomware, I guess is a good way to look at it, is basically the different areas in which you are at risk of having your data or your access or your etc. Compromised by somebody who's trying to take your crypto, install ransomware on your computer, etc., do something of that nature. And so when we look at this whiteboard, right, and say we have, here's our Ledger, Trezor, whatever. This is one attack vector, right? It's offline most of the time. I know a lot of people try to get the non-Bluetooth version because access to the device is another attack vector. If they can get to it from Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and maybe a wired connection, all of those ways are ways that people can get into your device and into your crypto and attack your value. There's attack vectors like a wrench attack, quote unquote, as some people call it. And that's where you could get kidnapped. Somebody could know that you have a large crypto balance and they could try to put a wrench to your head until you give up your seed. So a lot of times people will have, won't even write their seed down themselves, or they'll write it down and put it on a piece of paper and store it somewhere far, far away where they don't even know what it is or where it is. They try to take away their own knowledge of it somehow, but with a way to recover their seed so that they don't run the risk of the wrench attack. There's tons of different attack vectors. And the goal with operational security is just minimize the total amount of attack vectors. So if you already have a lot of attack vectors just on your cold storage device in and of itself, why would you want more bits sitting out somewhere else associated with the information that you're now holding on this cold storage device? So that's why it's always good to generate a new one. It's always good to minimize your attack vectors, really, really try to lower your risks for getting hit by ransomware, lower your risks for getting hit by malware, from getting your seed stolen, from getting a keylogger on your computer. don't click sketchy links. You know, there's tons that we could go into about operational security. But this was a quick overview of that, as well as a quick overview of the MEV bots and miner extractable value through sandwich bots. That, though, is all that I have for today, and I appreciate you all stopping by. Hope you'll give it a like, give it a comment, let me know what you think. Glad to have you, and again, jump in our Telegram, make sure that you're sharing ideas, let me know topics that you'd like for me to discuss in the future as well. Thanks again, hope you guys have a great day, and we'll catch you next time.